Hello, folks. If you can hear me and see me, it is a much improved situation than it was a half hour ago. We are going to try this again officially in about 2 minutes. So if you're here early and have been waiting since noon, thank you so much. I'm so sorry that the first try did not work. We are going to get started in 2 minutes officially. So get comfy. Hello, folks. If you're logging on, we are going to get started in 1 minute. We had technical difficulties with our noon kickoff, so we're starting now officially at 12:30. Just got confirmation that visual and audio sound great. Yay! We're going to get started officially in 1 minute, folks. A lot of people will be trying to get the new link and get connected as quickly as possible, so we will give them a second. It's so good to see this working. Okay, everyone, it is 12:30 and we are going to get officially started. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Wagner and welcome. Welcome, parents. Welcome, teachers. Welcome, parents who are becoming teachers, right? Welcome, leaders and caregivers and anyone who is connected through Kaplan Early Learning Company and for our Devereaux friends. Thanks to anyone who wants to feel connected right now. I know that there are some really great things about technology and some really not so great things, but my goodness, are we grateful for it now more than ever before, because we can at least feel a little bit connected as we stay at home. And so welcome, everyone. I'm just giving folks a chance to get reconnected since we had a little bit of a snag at our noon kickoff. So again, hello and welcome. My name is Rachel. Rachel Wagner. I'm with the Devereaux Center for Resilient Children, and I want to welcome parents and teachers and caregivers and leaders and anyone who wants to feel connected. And in particular today, anyone who might be dealing with another human that's using some behaviors that are challenging. So you are welcome, because we are probably in places where we are in close proximity to our kids, to our loved ones, to just people who may be starting to get on our nerves, starting to push our buttons. And so we're going to talk today about how to sort of cope, how to stay resilient, how to keep ourselves feeling maybe a little bit more sane in the midst of all of this. And as people are connecting and getting in, I would like to encourage everyone. I won't start with anything official until you do this. Grab a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen or a marker. I promise I won't start with anything good. If you got to run, get something, go get a piece of paper and a marker or a pen or something. So I will give you a minute to go run, get it. It's like that game where you have to find something in your purse. Hopefully many of you are at your desk and it's just a reach away, but some of you might have to run and grab it. So go grab a piece of paper and a pencil. All right, so we are going to get started. Welcome, everyone. I'll just introduce myself in a little bit more detail for those of you who I haven't met before. My name is Rachel Wagner. I am early childhood mental health specialist and national trainer for the Devereaux Center for Resilient Children. I spend my life talking about young children's social emotional development, their resilience, and the behaviors that they use that are challenging to us. I started my career as a preschool teacher and became a social worker because I fell in love with the kids in our program who were using the most challenging behaviors. And so I also am a mom to 4 kids, 3 of whom are in this house right now, and trying to be as quiet as humanly possible. And about 18 years ago, when I was working in a program that was called a therapeutic preschool with some of the most challenging kiddos I've ever met, I started to cobble together this strategy for intervening in some of those more challenging moments. And as I cobbled that together 18 years ago, it became a thing over the years called Flip It. And so I am the author of Flip It book, and lots of people call me the Flip It lady. So some of you may be familiar with this strategy and me, and some of you may be brand new. And so welcome to new faces. What you can expect from the 15 minutes that we are going to spend together today is just an overview of a strategy that is good in all situations, but is particularly needed during this COVID-19 crisis. We are in desperate need of easy, meaningful, uh, affirming strategies for not just the kids that we may be in a house with, but for the grownups too. And so I'm going to give you a little overview of that strategy. We're going to apply it to COVID-19 life in a different way than I've usually talked about it. So when I talk about Flip It, this strategy that I created about 18 years ago, I usually start out by talking about something that I call ick. So I'm going to get it out here. This is ick. These are the things in our life, ick is, that weigh us down. So if this is you on ick. And it's the things in our life that weigh us down. And kids have ick, and grown-ups have ick, and some of us have more ick than others. But when we have ick, we usually do one of 2 things, right? We take our ick and we hold it all inside of ourselves, and we do what I call a flip in, where we maybe stop talking to people, start isolating, start feeling more depressed. With your child, you're the one that's crawling under the table. You're the one that's not participating. And so when we flip in our ick, we hold it all inside. And we know what happens when we hold our ick inside. It doesn't end up feeling very good. And so how many of you right now have some ick going on, or see your kids have some ick going on, and they're flipping in? They're holding it all inside. And they're looking more depressed. They're doing more things that are not sort of helpful to their well-being. That's a flip in. Now, there's another alternative. The flip out is probably the more common. So if you are feeling a lot of ick and stress and challenges and things that are weighing you down, and this in this life right now, some of us do what we call a flip out. We take our ick and we share it with everyone. We take our ick and we share it with the world in the form of losing our temper. If you're a child, it could be in the form of meltdown or whining or screaming or hitting your brother, or pushing a limit, or whatever the case may be. So when we have ick, we usually do one of 2 things. We do a flip in. So I want you to notice if you're doing more of that, holding it inside, or if you're doing more of the flip out, where you're sharing it with the world. So notice which one you may be doing more of, which one the people in your house may be doing more of. Because right now, if you didn't have ick already, you have ick now. Because COVID-19 is ick. And what's happening globally, nationally, locally, is creating a whole lot of ick, a whole lot of worry, a whole lot of concern. Some of us have compounding ick now, because if you had ick already, this is making it worse. If you were struggling financially, this is making it worse. If you had health concerns, this is making it worse. So our ick is being compounded. So that's why we're here today, right? Our ick is being compounded, and we need to figure out what we're going to do about it. So I want you to reflect on this question. And I hope it's not inverting for you. They told me it wasn't. The question is, what do you need right now? What do you need right now? And the answer isn't easy. But for us at the Devereaux Center for Resilient Children, we say we need resilience. And resilience is like thinking about a rubber band. It's about feeling stretched and strained and pulled, lots and lots of ick. And it's about knowing how to get from a really stressed out place to a more flexible place. And so we need resilience right now. We need to get from here to here. So how do we do that? How do we get from here to here? And I think that the strategy that I came up with 18 years ago still applies even during the COVID-19 crisis. So follow along with me. What we need to be resilient is we need to stay in touch with feelings. We need to stay in touch with our feelings. We need to stay in touch with the feelings of the other humans in our house, the people that we're trying to stay connected with that are outside of our home. But we need to stay connected to feelings to be more resilient. So that's the first step of the flip it process. The next thing that we need to be resilient is we definitely need these right now. We need limits. We need boundaries. We need to really be clear, especially now, what we expect, what we will accept. And that is true for our own selves, but it's also true for our kids right now, right? So we have to figure out what are the boundaries and limits. That will help us be more resilient. Once we have our feelings and our limits squared away, then we have to do this other thing where we have to figure out how we're going to live with it. We need to stay curious. Instead of shutting down, we need to turn our brains on. We need to stay curious. We need to look for solutions, and that involves inquiries. That involves asking questions. And then we need solutions. We need solutions, and especially now, our solutions need to be outside of the box solutions, right? We need to think outside of the box. So remember at the beginning of this little demo I'm doing for you today, I asked you to get a piece of paper and a pen. Will you do me a favor right now? If you grabbed it, go ahead and in big writing, write flip. Write F, write L, write I, write P. Not fancy, but it's your COVID-19 poster. Okay, so write flip on a piece of paper. That's going to be something I want you to take away as we make our way through the rest of our discussion today. So did you write it down? You got your flip written down. So here's what I know. I've been using this strategy of feelings, limits, inquiries, and prompts for 18 years. I've been using it with kids for 18 years. I've been a mental health consultant working with kids who are using the most challenging behaviors, who have the most ick, whose rubber bands are like this, whose ick is flying everywhere, and this strategy works. But here's another really important thing that we have to zero in on today. We have to zero in on this truth. I hope it's not inverted. What works for kids works for grown-ups. What works for kids works for grown-ups. So a lot of you are figuring that out, right? A lot of you are realizing that, especially those teachers in the room and those folks in education or in mental health, you guys know that kids need structure. Kids need relationships. Kids need to know what's expected of them. Kids need to learn how to deal with their feelings. And we do that in our work with young children. We do that in education. We do that in mental health. And the exact same things that kids need, grown-ups need too. So over the years, We have really talked a lot about flipping everyone, flipping a child, flipping a fellow grown-up, and flipping ourselves. So for the little bit of time I have left with you, I want to spend some time giving some examples of real life flipping in a COVID-19 stay-at-home situation. And we're going to talk about flipping our kids. We're going to talk about flipping our grown-ups, and we're going to talk about flipping ourselves. So I'm going to give you 3 examples, real life examples of what this could look like for you, so that when you leave here and you have your little poster you made, it will make sense. You'll hear what it sounds like. So here's the first example I want to give you. A kid flip. You got kids at home. They really want their tablets. They really want their technology. They are whining and nagging and persisting about wanting and needing their screens, right? And you just want to tell them, knock it off. Your brains are going to rot. You have to go outside. You have to do something. You have to do your schoolwork. You have to get online for your schoolwork. You have to do all this other stuff. You just kind of want to yell at them. You kind of want to say, knock it off, or you want to give in to them and say, take your tablet in your bedroom all day. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Either one of those options are still okay right now. I don't want anyone beating themselves up for not doing perfect parenting, perfect anything right now. So sometimes if we lose our temper, that's okay right now. And sometimes if we give in, that's okay right now. But if you're in a good space and you're feeling strong, let's try to flip it. So you got a kiddo nagging for their screens. And the first thing we got to do, even though it's hard and we don't want to, is we've got to acknowledge that there's a very intense feeling there for that kiddo. So what's the feeling? What's that child feeling when they really want their screens? And so I might say something like, oh, you are really, really craving a screen. You are really wanting it because you're so bored right now. And that feels like the easiest way to soothe your boredom, because that's the truth. But what happens when a kid feels seen? What happens? The energy starts to come down. But then we got to reinforce our limit, right? So you know our limit. During the COVID-19 crisis, our screen time is X. Whatever it is, 2 hours, 1 hour, 5 hours, whatever it is, give the limit. Or we only use screens after we've done our schoolwork. Whatever your limit is, deliver it again. Kids need to hear it again and again. Now that we have our feelings and we have our limits, we've got to figure out what we're going to do. How are we going to live with this? And so we've got to get the brain curious. We've got to get the brain curious. So we've got to say, what else can we do with our boredom? What else can we do to help us get through that time of boredom? And then we got to move on to solutions and suggestions. And I know you're already doing it. You're getting creative. You're thinking outside the box. You're already doing all this great stuff. But this is where we pull out board games. We pull out puzzles. We find cooking projects to do together. We start doing serious Lego challenges that aren't just, simple, that we set our goals even higher, but that we have to get excited about something besides screens. And it's not going to be an easy sell. And what I often tell folks is you might get to prompts and they might still say no. And then you got to go back to feelings because the ick is strong and you got to stay there. It is so hard right now. You're so bored. It's so easy that screens make you feel really good and numbed out, right? So it's not a perfect system, but if anything starts to go wrong, go back to feelings. So I want to give you an example. That's a kid example. I want to give you like a fellow grown-up example. And the grown-up example I want to give you, and I really don't want to keep you on too long, but I want to give you 2 more quick examples. The grown-up example I want to give you is perhaps your spouse is driving you nuts. Perhaps your spouse is on their phone constantly and not helping you out enough. They're just on their phone. They're not helping you out enough. Happening, right? Think about whatever your challenge is with whoever your grown-ups are. Well, I know in my house, I had to think about where is the phone obsession coming from? Phone obsession for our house is coming from fear, right? So we have to acknowledge the fear. We can't just say, get off your phone, because that's going to start a fight. But we can acknowledge the fear. Then we can acknowledge our boundary. I really need to feel connected to you. And then we can do the inquiry. So what can we do to balance our connected time and our, obsessive on our screens fear time? And you figure it out together because you're both grown-ups. Okay, so it's a great way to do that. The last suggestion is that we want to do this flip it process, not just with our kids and with our grown-ups, but we want to do it with ourselves. And so I want you to think about a challenge you're having in your own life right now. What's your biggest struggle with being at home? What's your biggest struggle? For me, my biggest struggle is finding out how to be a great mom and still do my job. Be there for my kids, be their homeschool teacher, and still do a great job. Anyone with me? Anyone with me? So I need to flip myself a lot. And the flip I have for myself is that I have to acknowledge the pressure that I feel, the burden, the responsibility that I feel. And then I have to decide what my limits and boundaries are. Am I going to be a perfect homeschool teacher? I'm probably not. So what can I do to make this homeschool and work thing work? And because I was working on what I was going to say last night for this or for this little YouTube live today, I came up with my prompt and I realized that for us, it's okay that school only happens on the weekends for the most part in our house. What my kids could do independently, great, but my kids are going to need more support. So I've sorted it out that we're really going to do this on the weekends. And so that was my prompt for myself. It's not perfect, it's not ideal, but I had to go through the process to get myself there. Okay, so I want to thank you for asking me to do this, because as I was thinking through my own flips, it helped me to get to a better place. And so I want you guys to take this, really reflect on some of the challenges you have in your own lives right now, the things that are going on with your kids, with your grown-ups, and with yourself, and try to go through this process. Slow yourself down, lock yourself in the bathroom for a little bit, and slow yourself down. If you do nothing else, just do the feeling step. If you do nothing else, just notice what the feelings are. It's not just wanting video games. It's boredom, it's fear. It's not just feeling overscheduled. It's bigger than that. So just stay with the feelings. Try not to judge them. Most important thing is to not do this perfectly and to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And so with that, I have done about 20 minutes, which was what I was supposed to do. I wanted to give it to you in a nice consolidated package. I hope that I did. Please take care of yourselves. Please sit with your feelings, then move to limits, inquiries, and prompts when you're ready. But nobody has to do this perfectly right now. Nobody has to do any of this perfectly right now. And so with that, I'm going to close it up. If you want more information about Flip It, or the Devereaux Center for Resilient Children, or Kaplan Early Learning Company, links are going to be available in the chat box or below. And I think that's it. I hope you take care. I hope you flip it. I hope you notice what your ick is and you don't judge it, because it's all very okay right now. All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.